Award-winning journalist Kathy Scott later reported that the security guard said he offered a police security camera videotape of the incident to the police. They refused it and closed the case. At this point in the analysis of U.S. intelligence's murderous targeting of Tupac Shakur and black leaders, it's important to look at the media misrepresentation of these events noted moments ago. Mainstream media's work for U.S. intelligence has a long history. This history first requires a look at U.S. intelligence's war on ethnic leftists. U.S. intelligence waged the longest war against the American Indians. Their genocidal policies included wars and constant mass displacements, such as the Trail of Tears. When the American Indian Movement, or AIM, arose in the latter half of the 20th century, more sophisticated murderous targeting developed. For example, within hours of AIM leader John Trudell burning a flag on the Capitol steps in the 1970s, someone set his house ablaze, killing his wife and 3 kids, seen here. The FBI branch of U.S. intelligence started with Attorney General Palmer's Bureau of Information. They led the infamous Palmer raids that rounded up thousands of Italian anarchists and other labor organizers. They notoriously executed Italian anarchist labor organizers Nicola Sacco and Bartolomeo Vanzetti, despite global protests about what appeared as a murder frame-up. Palmer's assistant, J. Edgar Hoover, helped change the Bureau's name to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, by the 1940s. The FBI later participated in the prosecution of Jewish and purported communists Julius and Ethel Rosenberg in the early 1950s. The Rosenbergs, parents of 2 small boys, were the only people ever officially executed for treason during peacetime. Similar to the Sacco and Vanzetti case, global protests had failed to halt their execution. While the government claimed to execute the Rosenbergs for passing nuclear secrets to the Soviet Union, some evidence supports certain researchers' claims that U.S. intelligence executed them for a similar reason as they executed Sacco and Vanzetti. They say U.S. intelligence wanted to make examples of them to scare off other members of these ethnic groups who dominated anti-capitalist labor organizing. Later released government documents found that, similar to the trial of the Panther 21, the judge, prosecutors, and the FBI improperly talked throughout the trial to gain the Rosenbergs' prosecution. By the time of the Rosenbergs' trial, U.S. intelligence had gained a larger umbrella of bigoted, super-rich directors. The National Security Act of 1947 placed the CIA director as supervisor of all other 14-plus intelligence agencies. The highest-level CIA whistleblower, Victor Marchetti, an assistant deputy director, fought with the CIA to publish his censored expose, The CIA and the Cult of Intelligence. He and British editor Francis Stoner Saunders, among others, described the CIA founding leaders as coming exclusively from the wealthiest white Protestant families. The CIA showed its extreme prejudices when they colluded with British intelligence and other European intelligence groups to save many top Nazis. Insiders, such as U.S. Department of Justice prosecutor John Loftus, who led investigations of Nazi war criminals, documented this extensively in books such as The Secret War Against the Jews. Even George W. Bush's administration admitted to saving some 100 Nazis, though more careful researchers report that they saved thousands of Nazis. Through operations such as Paperclip, Sunshine, and Odessa, they shipped them around the world. A particularly large amount of them went to Latin America to gain control of resources there. U.S. officials have claimed to save Nazis to fight communists, but these Nazis actually fought against any form of real democracy. For example, Western intelligence worked with them to carry out many coups against elected leaders in Latin America, amongst other operations. As stated in the caption, this first picture is of a Nazi flag waving in the Andes after a 1980 Bolivian coup. Professor Peter Dale Scott, a former Canadian diplomat and professor at University of California, Berkeley, wrote of how Klaus Barbie, the butcher of Lyon, seen here, helped orchestrate that coup in Bolivia. Professor Scott also covered how Walter Rolf, seen left, was inventor of the portable gas chamber in his work for Hitler. Rolf then worked as a Chilean torturer for CIA directors such as Alan Dulles, seen right, after aiding the CIA-assisted Chilean coup of elected socialist leader Salvador Allende. This CIA document discusses their work with the coup plotters. The CIA then assisted in Chile-based multinational Operation Condor that assassinated Latin American leftists around the world, according to the New York Times, and detailed in this CIA document. These Nazis also advised U.S. intelligence in their cultural war against democracy at home and abroad. By 1977, Watergate muckraking journalist Carl Bernstein reported on the CIA's work in the media. Despite his fame from Watergate, Bernstein could only publish his article, CIA and the Media, in Rolling Stone magazine. He based his facts on the Congressional Church Committee findings that well over 400 members of the media lived dual lives in their work for the CIA. As seen in this paragraph, this number included the heads of virtually all mainstream news organizations, such as ABC, spelled out here as the American Broadcasting Company, NBC, CBS, the Associated Press, Time Incorporated, etc. Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Ben Bagdikian, dean of the University of California, Berkeley School of Journalism, found other ways the wealthiest families control Americans' information. Besides directing the CIA, the wealthiest families own the most multinational corporations. In his book, The Media Monopoly, Bagdikian detailed how they share boards of directors with the media companies and that, under law, the director of a company is obliged to act in the interest of his or her own company. Thus, oil companies, defense contractors, banks, insurance firms, and pharmaceutical firms who share directors with Time Incorporated, television companies, and big city newspapers should vote to censor information that can affect their profits. For example, Tupac criticized the government in having money for war but they can't feed the poor on his second CD. Defense contracting company General Dynamics shared at least one director with Time Incorporated and would have supported the censorship Time Warner started against Tupac. Another defense contractor, General Electric, had bought NBC Television, and former CIA Director William Casey had the largest ownership in capital cities when they bought ABC. Wharton School of Business professor Ed Herman also wrote the book Manufacturing Consent with MIT professor Noam Chomsky, which analyzed the media business. They revealed other ways U.S. intelligence and the super-rich control our information. Herman and Chomsky said that the Armed Forces Journal International revealed in 1971 that the Pentagon published 371 different magazines and journals. This made the Pentagon 16 times larger than the next largest American publisher. By 1982, the number of different Pentagon-published periodicals increased to 1,203. This might explain the magazine section of Barnes & Noble. Carl Bernstein's seminal article titled CIA and the Media took particular note of Charles Douglas Jackson, mentioned previously. Bernstein found agreement with Francis Stoner Saunders, who noted C.D. Jackson's revolving door between heading Time's media empire and many top magazines, and working amongst the CIA's leadership. Saunders reported Jackson's post as the presidential advisor on psychological warfare. In the 1990s, Time merged with Warner Brothers Film Company. They also partnered with music mogul Quincy Jones to start Vibe magazine, likely to give Vibe credibility. Time Warner's limitless money gave it market dominance. While black voices in top magazines showed positive progress, Time Warner appeared to have the goal of negatively influencing Black America, the same way they did the rest of America through the dozens of magazines and other media it owned. By 1992, the Los Angeles Times described how Time Warner's vast record label ownership included the great bulk of the rap stars. Advertisers and corporate interests also controlled most other music magazines, leading to further censorship of Tupac's life and times. At the start of 1995, a judge set Tupac Shakur's bail at $3 million and refused Tupac's offer of about $1.2 million. While Tupac resided in Rikers Penitentiary in New York City, his next CD, Me Against the World, opened at number 1 in the pop music charts. Many reporters interviewed him in jail, and Tupac spoke against the U.S. bombing of Bosnia. Authorities quickly moved Tupac 9 hours north